morning, ladies and gents. We shall do the inshore part of this test right now. So we're going to test some cruising speeds. We'll do a little bit of wide open throttle at the end when it's safe to do so. And then after this piece, we'll do a little bit of docking and anchoring. And then we're actually going to do the offshore piece at the end of the video. I'm actually waiting for the outgoing tide to settle down because we got 2 meters plus offshore, and so it's really pumping at the bar. So I'm just going to choose my time wisely. Let's just get the boat up and moving. I'm going to go from an 8-knot cruise straight up into the low 20s. I've got trim down, and I'm going to trim up as I go. Get the boat moving. I'll let it settle on the plane first. Okay, from about 22 knots there and starting to play with my trim now. Sitting at 24, and I'll settle down at about that 4,000 RPM and a little bit of bow down on the tabs. This is my first drive on the boat. I'm seeing about 70 litres consumption, somewhere in the 60s to 70s, variable as I just play with the settings. Okay, 3,900 RPM. And we're just gonna feel the boat for this part of the test until I'm used to it. And then we'll increase our speeds in a second. Got someone closing on me at speed aft, so I'm gonna increase my speed up to about, okay, that's better. Up to about 27 knots SOG, a little bit too fast there. Just settle that down, 4,000 RPM, 27 knots SOG. Now I'm in the groove, 73 litres per side consumption. Trim at 16 degrees. I was a little bit over trim before and a little bit of bow down, but I can now play with my trim tabs and feeling good. Yeah, the bar's fully closed out at the moment, so we'll just operate in here with ripping outgoing tide, 2+ meters of incoming swells, which says no boating at the moment, but we will be able to achieve that a bit later on today. So we'll rock through some of those waves. At the moment, I'm just watching this target out to my left before I start my turn, and now I'm going to come through, just going over some of these waves here, and even in the heel there, it's getting a little bit more aggressive, but I can see the other boat. I've got viz all around. All I have to do is drop my head if I increase the rate of heel, but even at about that rate of heel, I can still see just fine. We're not taking any water up onto the windscreen through his waves. So from a situational awareness perspective, everything feels good. 4,400 RPM now. I'm just seeing a little over 80 litres at times, but then back down to in the 70s consumption. We're talking litres today because we're in Australia. I'm going to raise those tabs a little bit, increase my speed just up to 30 knots. We'll feel the boat. We're going into the tide now. It's really ripping, but I've got boats all around. I've got tinnies on starboard, a ski boat up on the bow, big boats all around. And so from a busy waterway perspective, having this high glass wrap around makes life a little bit easier for me to keep an eye on everyone. And then also, if I want to get some air in, yes, we have air conditioning available to us, but I can just open these vents here and here, and we've got the side opening options as well. I'm just going to maintain this speed at 4,200 RPM. Fuel flows varying from the high 70s to the low 80s. And I'm just going to nudge that speed up to 4,500 RPM now. Going to have to watch this guy coming back in the opposite direction, which I will. We'll just pick our times. 4,500 RPM. I see 90 litres to 92 litres consumption. 30 knots to 31 knots SOG into the tide, so the engines are working a little bit harder. And now I'll just give it a bit more of a trim up because I trimmed down through that turn, and we'll just see what happens. The fuel flow is dropping back down into the 80s and variable. Okay, that's comfortable. Noise levels super good on these 600 V12s. coming off the plane just gradually, watching for traffic. I'm going to do a semi-fast turn. And this time we're actually just going to increase right up to wide open throttle. And I think it's safe to do so. We'll go through our waves. Okay, stick to the starboard side of the channel. I'm just watching one ski boat. Okay, wide open, trimming up. Getting rid of my tab. 5,400, 5,500. We're already at 40 knots. That's 6,000 RPM, 46 knots, 47 knots. This will be a 50 knot boat. And you see 190 litres consumption aside at that speed. You'll probably be able to optimize that with a little bit more trim. I'm just conscious of these people in the water here. So I'm gonna slow down and then we're gonna rip around and do it in the other direction. Giving some waves to the beachgoers, that's probably good for them. Because why not? It's a beautiful day. It's autumn here in Queensland and it honestly feels like a summer's day in Sydney. It's really, really nice. Okay, so we're going up tide now, up tide. So we were going down tide before, just gonna go through those waves. 1, 2, trim down, no tabs, full acceleration. You know, the pickup is quite noticeable. Trimming up on the motors now. You can feel those gear changes happening. 35 knots already. Trimming up on the motors to about 14 degrees. I might give it 15 there. I'm at 40 knots, ripping along. Actually, this is noticeable and blistering acceleration for a boat of this caliber. And here we go, up tide, traffic approaching, 45 knots. I've got to come off the plane. And down gear. Everything's very controllable. So, okay. I'm going to call this a big boat. You've got all the features of a big boat. You've got all the comforts of a big boat. Generator, gyro, accommodation, lots and lots of space here for socializing. So if you're coming off a big piece of kit, you're going to be very, very happy. But that drives like a small boat. That acceleration was very noticeable. The possibility for us to whip it around, chuck it into a turn is incredibly noticeable, especially if you're coming off something larger. So you can get into tighter spots. You can do more maneuvers, potentially emergency maneuvers. Therefore, you can also cruise at a higher average cruising speed and get out of the way when you need to. If you see a whale breaching in front of you, for example, you can get out of the way. So that's good. So what we're going to do is get out of this ripping tide, head over to the public dock. We'll stick the boat into joystick mode. We'll demonstrate what we can and cannot do with that in some close quarters scenarios, and then we'll play with the anchoring. I'm going to try and beach the boat today, and then we will head out to sea. So see you in the next bit. All right, guys, so I'm out of the main channel. We are still exposed to southerly wind, probably in the 8 to 10 knot speed at the moment, and a little bit of tide. First things first, that is akin to a helm door. It's huge, so it's great for communication and just getting a feel for what's happening around you. Remember, with these 600s, the units won't actually turn themselves. The driving is happening, or the props are spinning below the waterline. So if you're used to your engines turning from left to right, you should now refer to your rudder angle indicator if you're operating manually. However, we've always got the joystick. So I've just positioned us next to that pole there for your reference. Activate the skyhook. This is, should never be underestimated how useful this piece of tech can be, because if you're coming from another drive system and you're just getting used to driving one of these and you get too busy in your mind for whatever reason, just press the skyhook.
buy yourself some time, settle down, and then go sort the rest of the boat out. You don't need to get ahead of yourself. And I would suggest, like, we want to keep this whole boating thing fun, therefore it needs to be relaxing. So a design like we have just here, without too many complications at the helm, with a hull shape that's fairly forgiving, and with the ability for us to maintain good situational awareness, it's going to keep your mind less busy and keep more alertness ready to operate the boat. So let's just practice this joystick. I've deactivated Skyhook now, and I do have some wind and tide pushing me in that direction. And let's just get used to the joystick. And we always want to do this away from the dock, as opposed to discovering the boat's maneuverability next to the dock, which could be embarrassing if you hadn't predicted what was going on. So now let's just put the boat into an oscillation to starboard. We're spinning it on the dime, so I'm just revolving or spinning the joystick like that. Plenty of power here, guys. I'm only using a percentage of the available power to me at the moment. And now we're side on to the wind. And let's slow that down. And let's try and side slip into the wind now. And what you'll often find, because you are physically located in the middle of the boat and the engines are at the back of the boat, so all the physical maneuvering is happening at the back of the boat, in order to keep the boat parallel and in the direction that you intend to be going. Remember, I'm fighting wind and tide here, so we're actually working our way up tide, upwind with the side push. So that's fantastic, and it's very controllable. But the point I was trying to make before, when you're operating a joystick, you may have to do small turns in conjunction with your side push to keep the boat parallel. It makes more sense when you are doing it for yourself, but I'm just saying it is something you want to think about. Always bring the joystick back to center in a slow and considered manner, and then I'm just going to spin it back around to port. You don't want to let go of the joystick halfway through an aggressive maneuver. That doesn't seem logical to me. Whilst the joystick feels like a video game, we are still operating a mechanical device. There's still gears that need to catch up on us, so let's just treat it like one. That feels good. And back to center, nice and slow. Happy days. So now let's go back to sticks, and we can split the sticks. Boom, boom. As soon as you take control of the sticks, it will deactivate the joystick, so there's no worry of extra thinking from your perspective. And if we were coming alongside and docking the boat, now is when I'm going to be thinking about lines, fenders, guests, and just keeping life relaxed for myself. And if I am wanting to just do that prior to coming alongside, if you are in a tidal zone, particularly tide always will take control over wind in most scenarios. Put the engines facing into the tide, then press Skyhook. If the wind's really strong and you're not in a tidal zone, put the engines into the wind. And just imagine a flagpole. The flagpole is like this, and then the boat is actually fluttering. The boat's the flag, and you're kind of doing the same with these Skyhooks. And the reason I say that is, if you stick the bow into the tide or the bow into the wind, you're now forcing the engines to work really, really hard, perhaps unnecessarily hard. It'll do it, but you'll hear all this kerfuffle back there, and it's just not the most elegant way to just relax and have a fun day on the boat. So if our goal is to chill, socialize, fish, do all that sort of thing, let's keep it easy for us. So that's a little tip. I'm not going to actually bring it alongside because I haven't deployed any fenders, but just pay attention to the fact that we do have the midships cleat accessible from right here, so that's handy. And leaving the helm, and look, I've just activated Skyhook again. Once again, I've done it a few meters away, always allow for movement, but I've just bought myself time if I wanted to leave the helm get to the stern door just back there, or prepare a stern line, or deploy some fenders, it's not a great drama. There's some tide taking me there, so I'll just take control. That's why I always use these systems a little bit away from the dock. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm just gonna, once again, side slip the boat in. And we got some boys with the fishing rods here. Okay, so I won't actually get too close because I don't want to get caught up in their lines. So I'm just going to slide slip it in on this end of the dock. Nice and gentle. We have wind, we have tide, but now the last point I want to make, when you're on final approach to whatever destination you're going into, whether it's your marina berth or whatever, any fixed structure, just keep your attention, your line of sight on that fixed structure. Don't look around and then back, because when you lose your focus, you'll just find your hands doing the wrong thing, and when you come back, even if it is only a second later, you can be completely out of alignment or setting yourself up to be out of alignment, if that makes sense. I hope it does. Jump in the comments if it doesn't. I'll try and explain it. So I'm just side slipping away here because these young boys, it is Easter holidays here in Australia and all the boys are out fishing. It's funny actually, I've been catching the bus because I don't live in Australia, I don't have a car here. So I'm catching the bus in Sydney. Every bus I've caught has had young tackers with fishing rods. I'm like, good on you boys. So I bet you they all want to be on this Boston whaler too. So that's easy. I'm going to put that in the predictable category. What I like about this size of vessel is that it has enough weight and mass about her that she can tackle even those little waves we did around the bar. We'll do more when we get offshore. But the weather is not going to overtake the boat at such a rate that your mind can't keep up. And then we can always buy ourselves more time with the Skyhook and other technology we have available to us. And I absolutely love this door and this door. The operation is super simple. You can just hold it like that, and that's sealed, and then opening, undo it, it just pops out. So you could, if you in a push needed to, exit the boat from here. I don't know why you would, but it's possible. However, if you were just trying to do some tickle ups on the adjustment, say you had left the helm, you had started to secure your stern line, and maybe you were losing your bow, you could just reach back in here and fix it up with this window open. So that's super handy and conducive to a relaxing day. So I'm happy about that. All right, let's go play with the anchor. All right, guys, so we're going to do a beach landing here. So we're going to be deploying the bow anchor. We're going to be backing up on the beach. Brad's going to deploy the stern anchor. We've prepared that already on the port cleat because it's a blow-off situation with the wind. And we will obviously be trimming the motors up on final approach to the beach itself. What I'll actually do, because I've got Skyhook, I'll just start dropping a little bit of chain and okay, that's going down. Let's do Skyhook off and we'll start backing in and down on the beach. Start thinking about trimming my motors up. So if you can start to call the distance on the sand, Brad, and then get ready for deployment. Are you still safe to, oh, okay. It's nice how you've got that.
You're right, plenty of water.
Okay.
Back it up a bit more.
Backing it up. I can feel we're tightening up on the chain there,
Yeah.
trimming up.
Turn off.
Okay. Alright guys, I'm just getting the hang of the windscreen wiper buttons. We've exited the bar. We are offshore, off the Gold Coast. Decent amount of swell today. Rolling swell, decent wave period. It was definitely too dangerous to exit the bar earlier on, which is why we delayed. There was outgoing tide, incoming swells. Doesn't make a lot of sense from a safety margin perspective, and we did have to dodge some big breaking waves with an oncoming set on the exit of the bar. We were fine. Essentially, it's maintaining moderate speeds. The sensation, and this is my first time driving it in the waves, but I've been feeling it for the last half an hour sitting on the floor driving the drone, or flying the drone I should say. It's soft. No rattles. Insulation of the foam is noticeable. Driving at sensible speeds can be relaxing because we're not getting jarred around, and the necessity to make regular course adjustments is less when compared to, say, some of the cutting bow style adventure boats that you see on my channel, which are lighter build, lighter weight, and they have a purpose, but they're doing that because they want to save on fuel, and that's fine. But you do need to do much more course corrections to change your angle of attack to get the smooth ride. Whereas right now, 20 knots, oncoming, well, the seas are kind of on that angle at the moment, so coming across our port bow, I'm essentially not doing a lot. I mean, I can, of course, but if I wanted to just set the autopilot, sit up in this chair and enjoy the ride, I absolutely can. So that's the first observation. Now I can see a yacht up ahead. I'm just going to take this out to sea a little bit more. We'll go into some of these swells. It's a bit messy. You know, it was sort of pumping over the weekend. I've got a third trim tabs down now, just giving me some cutting action. I might drop them a little bit more. Interestingly, apart from when I accelerated, I actually haven't taken any spray on the windscreen yet. Definitely noticeable is the advantage of being enclosed right now. You know, if you were on the Outrage, for example, my buddy owned about 3 of them. Great boat, lots of fun. I like him. I'd say a boy out there, I'm going to stay away from that boy. You know, you're exposed, and fine in tropical climates. If you're starting to get in a part of the world where it is shoulder seasons, or you don't have the tropics available to you, it might get a little bit uncomfortable. I'm going to turn before that boy because I don't know what it is, and I'm going to take these swells on my beam. We're now seeing rather large waves and a good wave period. So now we've got the swells on our starboard beam, and hopefully I've set up tree cameras for this. Hopefully between the drone and camera 1 to 3, you'll get an appreciation of this. Something in the water, no problems, maneuvered around it nicely, easy. Perfect example of being able to maintain good situational awareness on a boat. You may notice I have stuck it into single lever, or Brad put it in single lever, he was driving before, but I agree with that. In these conditions, it's quite controllable for me to lay my palm here, have contact with the vessel, and then control the throttle with my fingers, rather than potentially over throttling because you hit a wave and you lurched your body forward and accidentally did something you didn't mean to. But comfortable, relaxing, 25 knots,
That's actually quicker than I need to be going out here, but I feel like across the waves, that's fine. Into the waves, I was happy at her about 20. And yeah, she's good. Fuel flows are hovering between that 60 to 70 litre per motor consumption. And I'm in around about that 3,800 to 4,000 RPM, depending on what's happening. Now I'm just gonna go down swell, raising my trim tabs as I go down the waves. (3,900 RPM), 25, 26 knots. Give it a little blast. Let's look at 27. So the landings are good. You can feel the V section from the midships forward is doing its job. And right now, here's where the size of the boat comes into its own, because we're effectively at 27, 28 knots at times, 4,000, call it 4,100 RPM. We're sort of skipping between wave crest to wave crest. And the smaller you go on any hull, the less opportunity you have just to skip to the next one, and the rougher the ride will be. So right now we've got displacement, length, and design giving us the ability to run with it in less than perfect conditions, far less, and we're comfortable. I feel safe. All my passengers are going to be safe. Everyone's going to be dry. And I've just got to shout out to these motors. Noise levels of what technically should be a noisy operation, because we've got the engines there, the noise should be reverberating through here, it should be captured in this cabin, but they're just, even at cruise, they're just not noisy. It's not intrusive, it's not offensive. So I'm a fan of that, because then that's going to allow you to cruise for longer out to your destination and arrive less exhausted. Anything you can do to lower the stress on your body is a good thing when you're going to sea. And I think from what I've just experienced here and now we're coming back into it, and I'll just slow that speed down a little bit. This is a forgiving, safe, low workload vessel for driving in the sea. It's as simple as that. And the insulation, the thickness of the hull, and the rigidity of this structure, because I guarantee you, many boats that I have on my channel, if I bring them out here, something bubbling water up ahead, I'm not going to drive through that. Yeah, if you do this, like right now, go over some of these waves, you'd hear rattles. You would definitely hear rattles. We'll do it again, just coming at 23 knots. There's just no rattles. So that's indicative of a high quality build. So you spend the money, you'll definitely spend the money on it, but in return, this is what you get. So that's good, I'm a fan. We'll take this back inshore now, and we'll wrap this video for you.
All right, guys, we've activated the skyhook. We're back inshore, made it in safely, comfortably and confidently on this boat, which is, I think, one of the takeaways, hopefully, that you've got from this video. So, how is she to operate? Who is she going to suit? And what could you potentially compare her with in the market? This is a great boat to operate. She's got enough length, got enough displacement, and got enough technology to make life easy and comfortable for anyone coming from bigger boats or stepping up from smaller boats. She has a design that allows us to reach all points as required when necessary with ease. I mean, cleats, midships, forward, getting onto the deck, moving back here, seeing everything you need to see, and she keeps you protected at all times. So that's really, really cool. Who's she going to suit? Anyone coming from a bigger boat. You cannot forget the foam flotation and built into these boats, essentially inside two hulls. That's the best way to think of it. But that's a safety margin that no other brand can offer you, essentially. So when I say, or when you ask, what should I compare it with? If that's on your must-have list, nothing. You just got to buy the Boston, because there isn't anyone else focusing on that in terms of adding an extra safety margin for you. But if you want to compare it with other brands offering somewhat similar designs and quality, I think the Grady Whites could be up there and a fair comparison to look at, and maybe some of the Regals, however, then less fishing focused, and the Boston is much more of a fishing machine. But overall, if you're thinking about quality, resale, brand, global brand recognition, tripping over my words, you can't go past a Boston. This is a really awesome piece of kit. So yeah, I hope that was useful. Jump in the comments with any questions, comments, feedback if you already own a boat, or if you're on the trajectory to owning one of these. That's what this channel's all about. I will pop up something similar to this boat for you to do your own homework, because I'm not selling any of these boats. I just drive them. I think I have the best job in the world, as a matter of fact. But I'm just making these videos for you to help yourself use this information as you see fit, and then go and chat to your dealers. So hope that was useful. My Patreon and all the other links, and the links to this boat is down below in the description. Go check it out. Love you lots. See you in the next one.